Join us for the first week of the URC, where the Rap Boys make their predictions about where everybody's going to finish at the end of the season. But more importantly, we talk about the first week of the URC. Dragons and Ospreys, huge game. Cardiff against Zebra, Scarlets against Benetton. Let's get on with it. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Rap Podcast with me, Lee G. Joining me as always is the happy crew of Jamie, James and Harley. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
There's an enthusiasm in the air because it's the start of the season. None of us have had a kick in yet. I can feel the positivity, gents. I can feel it there.
It's optimism. It's the beginning of the season. We're all optimistic for the URC equals best league.
and then we kick off.
Got it in early. Right, that's it. I'm going.
And you, James, would appreciate that. URC equals best league.
James has filled his allocation for the year and is done. That's the optimism. Done. Yeah.
Much like Scarlets last year, I'm checking out after pre-season.
Oh, here we go.
Started already.
There we go. All right. Let's start with drink of the week then. So James, you can start with drink of the week and excite us with a...
So I've got two. I've got just a nice little bottle of water because I haven't drunk enough water today. And I got this on when I went to go get my diet lemonade. But instead, I've got Sunny D.
Oh, it's a blast from the past. But
Blue
they're still
raspberry
making
version.
that.
Blue raspberry version, yeah.
It says blue. That's all.
Blue raspberry. It's incredibly sweet. Ironically, it's only 15 calories per 250 milliliters. But the sugar content is, a lot. Because Sunny D.
That thing has never seen a natural ingredient.
No.
that thing is
there is actually probably blue raspberries in it.
No, it once passed some blue raspberries on its way to the supermarket. That's where the flavour comes.
But it's like very much in that blue Gatorade vibe.
You should plug it into like put it by a light bulb. And then it'll just come out blue. That'll be quite cool. That'd be quite funky.
But it has got some wanky bollocks.
Hey, go on then.
Let the sunshine in. Vitamin D is often called the sunshine vitamin because we can make it ourselves through safe sun exposure. A 250 ml of glass of Sunny D will give you 50% of your daily need of vitamin D, so you can enjoy that Sunny D feeling wherever you like, wherever you are.
Is what the Sunny D feeling is, though, is feeling high as a kite from all the chemicals that are running around.
Yeah, if this was 15 years ago, this would be a lot different conversation.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Didn't they try to ban it once because they were sending kids hyper?
No, they was taken off shelves, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, remember
that's the original orange one, which you can get now, which is obviously a different...
yeah, it's very different, isn't it?
A different recipe.
Okay, let's move on before someone decides to sue us. Jamie, what have you got this week, mate?
I have got from Electric Bear, who are based in Bath, a beer called Bloom Landing, and it's a pink lemonade sour, 4.5%. I'll show you the colour for those on YouTube. There you go. Looks lovely, doesn't it?
The pineapple juice.
It's pink lemonade. I tell you what, mind, on a hot summer's day, this is the kind of beer that'll go down a treat. It's really, really refreshing. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
I like this one. It's Bloom Landing, and it's from Electric Bear, a Bath-based brewery. It's only 4.5%. It's quite light and refreshing. I know it don't look great, but it is very nice.
Have we got the correct Twitter handle for them, Jim, this week?
I'll sort that out. Because I left it to you to do, and you tagged in the bloody American Bristol Beer Company, didn't you, Lee?
I think we should just explain what happened last week on Twitter. But I said, all right, well, let's just tag in the breweries and just give them a little bit of promo and all that kind of stuff. You never know, we might get a couple of freebies back or whatever. And then so Jamie had a beer last week from the Bristol Brewing Company, and I'm sat there on Twitter going, right, and I started typing Bristol, and Bristol Brewing Company comes up. But then there was Bristol Brewing Company and like the Bristol Brewery. So I just went, oh, they must be the same thing. You know, sometimes you just forget your Twitter login and stuff. So I just tagged the first one, and it was a Bristol brewery in Colorado in America.
Colorado Springs, yeah, Bristol
Yeah.
Brewery Company in Colorado Springs. Next time, Lee, just leave the socials to me. That's the moral of this story here, okay? Leave it to me.
I love the ideas. You do the doing.
Yes.
Yes. Harley, what have you got, mate?
So I was at another food festival again because I am a Tory wanker, as James calls me, despite never voting Tory in my life. And I picked up this new cider, brew, the cider farm that I've not seen called Roll Orchards, and this one's called Harmony. So it's a nice sort of medium dry cider. But the way, like, there's two. I've not got one. I've got two bits of wangy bollocks now. So one of them is a celebration of orchards old and new. Orchards are one of the few places where humans and nature work together in harmony. This cider is full of fruity flavours and perfectly balanced. And then the other bit is, at Roll Orchards, we are committed to blending only the best ingredients to make our product special. We keep it simple and sustainable using locally grown ingredients, so every drop is infused with a little idyllic Devonshire countryside. We love our products and we hope you do too. And it's a perfectly fine cider.
Sure,
Perfectly
Harley.
fine. There you go.
You should have.
They do have a fantastic one though, which is more like a dessert wine cider. So it's 8.5%, but it goes really well with cheese. So I've got a couple of bottles out ready for family cheese evenings because, as James keeps calling me, Tory wanker.
I would just like to point out, I don't think I've ever actually called you a Tory wanker.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then fair
Maybe
enough.
not on the pod, but it's definitely come up on the
Yeah.
WhatsApp.
Just wait till I meet you in real life, mate. All bets are off. Checkbook Charlie in real life.
The way you read
Especially
that,
when you realise I am actually the most rough, stereotypical Barry person you've ever met.
oh, that's
This is
frightening.
all
Right,
the
Mike
front.
Bubbins.
The way you read that, Harley, yeah, the way you read the wanky bollocks on that, you should really apply to go on like Jack and Ori, because you just kind of eases through and it just drifts through. You could read that to kids and they'd go,
Right.
Dad,
I know you're old, right? But Jack Norrie hasn't been a thing for 10 plus
CPB's
years.
bedtime stories, James.
Is that what it is now, is it?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah, Jack and Ori.
Yes,
Jesus.
You still
Showing
love
your
Jack?
age now, Lee. Showing
Yeah,
your age,
you
mate.
still love Jack and Ori. Jack and Ori was cool.
Are you going to nominate Regan King to have a really good season later on?
Let me move on to mine. So I'm on the non-alcohol stuff. I literally had about 4 sips of that stuff last week. It did not go down very well at all. So this week I have a tropical IPA from the Drop Bear Beer Company, which is it's a Swansea company. I think they actually started off in my neck of the woods and then they kind of moved up to Swansea as they've expanded. So available in all good supermarkets and all of that kind of stuff. And the wanky bollocks on this is hoppy, tropical, punchy. Expect notes of tropical fruits, stone fruit, and punchy hop bitterness. Yeah, it's a decent beer. It's all right. I can drink this one. I can actually drink this one, which is a step up on last week.
I've had that on the pod. I don't know if you remember, and also
Yeah.
Carwyn Hallett had it as well. It's quite nice, isn't it? In fairness.
Yeah, I mean, for a non-alcohol kind of stuff, it does taste quite beery.
Yeah, I thought that as well.
Yeah, so it's all right. It's all right.
Good stuff.
Cool.
I said recommend Big Drop from Bristol. I think they are. They're a specialist low alcohol beer brewery, and they're always spot on. They used to do a Citra IPA, which is absolutely gorgeous.
I'm only just getting used to this whole non-alcohol stuff, Harley, mate. Let me take a while before I start expanding on it, man. Let's take it easy. Right, let's do news desk, Jane. Let's rattle through news desk really quickly. Go on.
Right, okay, well, let's talk about the big story that broke last week, the story that got everyone talking. So there was a report in the Daily Telegraph last week with the headline, Premiership considering merger with URC to form British and Irish League. So just to quickly break it down, there was a board meeting with the English Premiership clubs in London last week. There were a number of proposals discussed, which included reducing the English Premiership to 8 teams or increasing it to 16 teams. An Anglo-Welsh League was also considered. However, the most popular option for the English clubs was a British and Irish league, but without the South African and Italian clubs involved. So that proposal is said to have attracted the most interest, given that it has the potential to drive the greatest commercial revenue. But the article also added that it would be the most complicated to achieve. So there was a lot of speculation floating around on Twitter, a lot of angry Irish and Saffers and Scots who love the URC and they don't want it tampered with. So the URC put out a statement on their socials shortly after. I'm not going to read the full statement, but they basically said the URC is committed to continuing this pace of growth ahead of the new season and far into the future. So a lot of Irish, fans on social media are happy about this. South African Scots as well as great URC have come out fighting. That's all good and well. However, what's interesting about this story is the IRFU, the Irish Rugby Union, they are open to the possibility of broadened competition, but only if all of the participation nations are involved. So they want the South Africans and Italians included if they are going to have this British and Irish league. Their chief executive, only last November, Kevin Potts, he said, and I quote though, I am quoting this, "You are asking about the potential of a British and Irish scenario. Yes, that is something we are open to looking at. We are looking at these things at the moment because the game needs to generate more money." So there's interest there from the unions and from the Irish, surprisingly, but they want the South Africans and the Italians involved, whereas the English clubs want the British and Irish league, but they don't particularly want the Italians and the South Africans involved. So, yeah, we have this kind of story regular now, don't we? But I do think change is going to happen in the future. I'm convinced of it. I think we'll stay as we are for now, but money is going to dictate change. And I think that there is interest. I mean, the Irish are the power brokers here. I think that's what we got to remember. They are the ones that hold the cards. So if they say it's going to happen, it probably will happen. But I find it quite interesting. I don't know if you've got anything you want to add to that story. Any thoughts?
I do. And I quote in professional wind-up merchant Hugo Gordon on Twitter, who's a great follow, but he said, and he summed it up best, "It's entirely possible to say that the URC is both a successful league that has benefited most sides in it, but then also it may not be the best fit for Welsh teams, and their current best option might be an Anglo-Welsh league." There's no contradiction there. And majority of Irish fans want the Welsh to stay, right? We've got a storied history in that league. Speaking as an Ospreys fan, going out to Leinster and winning it, Lee will have similar memories in 2017. There are good times. And to an extent, the URC takes the blame for the wider failings of the Welsh Rugby Union and indeed the Welsh sides. But there is absolutely benefit to shorter travel times, historic fixtures, so it's not a contradiction to say that one is successful and B, it might not be the best for Welsh teams. However, what's more likely is that British and Irish league. And look, we as a rugby family have to be committed to growing the game. And I like the Italian teams, right? I think they've always been great fun, and the improvement has been vast, especially in Benetton. And I don't particularly think it'd be fair on them just to dump them. But are they more suited to the top 14? What's the outcome here? I don't see what the logistics of a British, Irish, Italian, and South African league are.
So for me, the only people that benefit from this is England, because at the minute, there are continuing rumours about sides in trouble financially in England. They've lost 3 sides. They're in danger of losing at least one more side this year. And it doesn't look good for English rugby, because the English rugby is the Premiership isn't controlled by the union in the same way that the URC is. The URC is controlled by the unions. Yeah. So if we were in an Anglo-Welsh league now, Dragons would have gone bust, Scarlets would have gone bust, Cardiff would have gone bust. That's the reality.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but you'd be left as the only side there, and then they turn around and they go, "Well, you're only getting 2,000 or 3,000, and why are you even here?" That's the reality, yeah. All they want is they want to have a couple of big games a season where they can make a splash and a dance about it, yeah. Don't forget, we've got new leaders in each union that all want to make a, I've done something statement. They all want to make this is what I'm doing to improve the game. I've got a plan. This is the reality is we need to focus on filling our home grounds. Get the clubs and the unions to focus on filling their home grounds. The rest will take care of itself. URC is a good league to be in. It's a good product. It's a good setup. It gets interest from worldwide. The recent TNT sponsorship deal that the TV deal that the Premiership signed was a fraction of what it was on before. Yeah. The Premiership viewing figures are shrinking. The URC figures are growing. URC is, around the world now. And yes, it ain't great traveling to South Africa and back and all of that kind of stuff. But to give up all of that to playing against some of the best players in the world, to seeing some of the best players in it, because I want to play Bristol every week. That whole thing about, we used to play Bristol and it was great, and yeah, that was because you were playing them on an Easter Friday. You were playing on a Good Friday or Easter Monday, and it was special. That isn't going to be the way the league works every week. Yeah, how many fans are going to travel from Newcastle down to Llanelli on a pissing down Friday night? Yeah, and it's about the same as come from Zebra. So it's not the solution to how we solve Welsh rugby. The solution to solving Welsh rugby is for Welsh rugby to solve Welsh rugby itself. It's internal. It's getting people to go and watch the game. It is.
I would just like to point out that due to the nature of my employers, I cannot comment on half of this.
But it's in the press, mate. And there's constant speculation about this club, that guy, and I'm not naming clubs and all that kind of stuff. Yeah?
Look, I know a lot more but I think we moved on from an Anglo-Welsh league, especially online, very quickly because, like Jamie said, the power brokers didn't want it. And they are the Irish. Yeah. And it's funny when you said that. The unions control the URC. Let's be frank, the Welsh have about as much control in the URC as I do.
No, I know what you mean, and a lot of rugby is centred in Ireland at the minute, but the way to improve our situation in there isn't to throw the dummy out and go and sit and have somebody else tell us what to do. The way to solve our issues is to look internally and solve our issues internally.
Fine. You heard it here first. Scarlets can stay in the URC. We'll all go somewhere else.
Bad. My genuine thought for the future will be that 6 Premiership teams will join an extended URC, and it'll become a 2.
Well, this is the thing.
That's what I think.
I had this conversation with someone today. That the 2 options that essentially were discussed were a conference style in the Gallagher Premiership, where 2 Welsh teams go into the top, 2 Welsh teams go into the bottom, and the other one would be, I don't think it'll be reduced teams, but I think teams will come across to the URC in again like a Pro 14 conference style. That's I think the future that we're looking at, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, there will be change. I think there will be conferences, and that's why I think you could have an Anglo-Welsh conference, couldn't you, in this British and Irish league? And what you got to think of, like, we're all defending URC. We try to promote it and be positive because we know there's a lot of negativity about it online and in Wales. However, I would put to you, if there was a British and Irish league that had an Anglo-Welsh conference, would that generate more interest with the Welsh public than the product we got now? In my mind, absolutely yes, it would. I think it would.
And just before you go on, the South Africans still can't get it right themselves. They've cancelled the first 2 rounds of fixtures.
Yeah.
Right, because basically the URC organisers, even though they are, not majority South African yet, but are going to be, scheduled it during the Curry Cup. Like that's can you imagine if we did that as a nation? right? You know, people are getting pissed off that there's a Super Rugby Cymru game on the same time as a Cardiff game, right? Which, you know, for some people is a big deal because they watch both. But to cancel 2 rounds of what they're calling the Premier League because it's coinciding with a semi-pro, basically, you know, virtually semi-pro competition, it's amateur. It is.
And I think there's still lots of stuff to do and lots of stuff to go. But what was brought up on the URC podcast last night on the rewind was that South Africa, at the end of this season, South African clubs buy into the URC, as in they get a seat on the board. So after this season, they get a say in who does what. And that may well be driving a lot of the urgency from the Premiership. The fact that in 12 months' time, any conversation has to happen with the South Africans around the table. So
Wales are going to have so much more of an input on that, aren't they?
Well, we'll have bigger friends then. Anyway, that was a nice quick one. We said
but that's the problem when you discuss things like this. It's never going to be quick. It's very nuanced. It's a complicated situation.
Yeah, and we should take a sweepstake on it now about how many times that particular story is going to come up through the season. I'll start the bidding at 10 plus, and we can go up from there. So right, let's talk about our rugby then, gents. We've got the first week of the URC. It is week 1. It does just kind of feel a bit more oomph this year. I mean, last year we went into it off the back of a World Cup. We were half in the World Cup. Players were there, weren't there, never knew who was coming back, all that kind of stuff. This one feels a bit more genuine. I've seen the first adverts for the start of the URC today, which kind of feels a little bit flat in terms of that. So I'm hoping that's going to build through the week. But we start on Friday night, where Cardiff entertain Zebra. So, Harley, take us through your hopes, your expectations, who you're hoping to see on the pitch, and how much you're hoping to hold Zebra to on Friday night.
I think first and foremost, we've got to start the season off with a win, because we can't, as Jamie kept telling me every week towards the back end of last season, we can't keep going with talking about Cardiff's narrow losses. Zebra are as you discussed on the Rugby Rewind, and most other Italian pods say Zebra are effectively a development team. It's a lot of under 20s or people sort of just making that step up. So we've got 23, 24-year-olds coming up from the top 10, which has 9 teams in it, which is one of the most wonderful things about rugby. Cardiff should have, yes, we've had a lot of change in the squad, but a lot of the changes have been bringing in experienced campaigners, people who've been there, done that before. Yes, we've had a few youngsters, but majority there. So, I'm looking forward to seeing the impact Josh McNally has on the squad. Ed Byrne coming off the bench. Callum Sheedy's going to be an interesting one for us to watch this season. I think me and Hugh both said separately together and on Scrum of the Earth last night. Callum Sheedy's either going to end up Wales's first choice 10, or everyone's going to be saying, what was the point in bringing him over? And I think there's just going to be no in between there. I said it's the first game out, so I think it's going to be a bit tetchy. So I don't think the win's going to be as big as we'd probably like. So I'm thinking probably by about 5 points, but I'm hoping it should at least be a comfortable win.
Do you think Sheedy will start at 10 though? Do you think he's going to go straight in, or it's not like De Beer had a nightmare season last year, is it?
No, I don't think he played particularly bad in the preseason games, but I just wonder if there's that nag in the mind of Sheedy's got basically 3 or 4 opportunities to put himself into Gatland's plans, and he's made it quite clear his ambition is to take the 10 jersey for Wales again. I mean, I said on Cardiff Central when we did our squad wrap up, I think personally De Beer starts at 10 and then you have Sheedy going off. But then if Sheedy's playing the house down in training, you've got to reward that. And he did look quite good against Bath, albeit Bath kids.
You can only play what's in front of you, can't you? James, I always get worried when I ask you about Cardiff, mate. So, James, what are you... Go take the piss out of Cardiff for 5 minutes, and then we'll ask a serious question.
don't know what there is to take the piss out of, really. I think the senseless hyping up of young players at Cardiff needs to slow down a bit. Like, yes, I get Tom Bowen scored a hat-trick for the Rags on the weekend, but Jesus, that article today was a bit much, and it's sort of the same
Where's
with
that
Scarlett.
Cardiff? That's not Cardiff. That's Wales. That's just Wales Online doing what they do.
I
they
mean,
do it for everyone.
not necessarily. I'm talking about Cardiff. I'm talking about the perception that Cardiff are portrayed in the media, because no one reads Cardiff; they read Wales Online. So that's how Cardiff's being portrayed. What my sentiments around Cardiff still remain around questions about what Cornel Van Zyl is doing with that Type 5. I have no issues with Cardiff as a backline. I would like to see. I think they start Sheedy. You don't buy Callum Sheedy and don't start him. As harsh as it is on De Beer. He played a lot of rugby last season. I'm sure he'll cope. There's a lot of rugby to come this year. I think Harley is right in terms of Callum Sheedy as Wales 10. But Callum Sheedy in a Wales shirt has always felt like a stopgap to whoever the next 10 is. He's never looked convincing enough to nail down a 10 shirt. He couldn't nail it down during Bristol. So what makes him say that he's going to nail it down as a Wales starter? But in terms of Cardiff, like, pre-season was a mixed bag for them, definitely. But I think out of the 4 regions, they actually played probably the most developmental sides of them all. I think Sherritt needs to nail down that starting 15 and do it quickly. Essentially avoid what your mob did last year, Lee, which is make loads and loads of changes every week, and you develop no consistency, which was one of Scarlett's biggest problems last year. So yeah, find who that starting 15 is very quickly, and sort that front 5 out, that maul defense, because Zebra like a maul. They can hurt you, and they've got pace out wide.
So, Jamie, your thoughts on Cardiff Zebra? Is there anything for Cardiff to worry about, or what do Cardiff need to worry about within themselves to make sure they come away with a win?
No, I think, look, because it's at the Arms Park, I am expecting Cardiff to win and to win well. I think if this was out in Palmer, it's a banana skin. Zebra are always tricky. As we found out last season with Cardiff, they had that draw, and they could have gone the other way. But it's a great start for Cardiff. It's a really good opening fixture for them. I'm expecting a comfortable win. I'm interested to see how Zebra get on, because they are playing a lot of youth. And we'll talk about later with the Dragons. There's always that battle at the bottom, is there, between us and Zebra. If they start getting a couple of wins together, right, it's going to be really interesting, because suddenly all the teams start getting pulled down, Dragons especially. And I was talking to you before we started recording. When they played Glasgow up in Scotland on the last day, they played really good, and they were winning. They were winning for a large part of that game, and they could have won had they got a bonus point up there. Dragons would have finished bottom. But yeah, I think it's a perfect game for Cardiff to start with. You would expect them to get a 5-pointer. Obviously, you can't be too complacent, but I do expect Cardiff to get off to a winning start.
Like it was.
I would like to disagree with Jamie for a second there. I don't think Zebra's the perfect first game up, because I
Why
think
isn't it?
the best Zebra play is their first game of the season, and it has been every season.
Yeah,
and I think if they're going to upset someone, it is going to be that first week. I mean, if you look
you're
at
at home,
the results
though,
first few weeks last
you
season,
should win. You should win. You should be targeting a bonus point win at home, surely, against Zebra.
Yes.
If you could pick any side in the league to say, okay, we're going to start our
Yes.
campaign with, everyone would say Zebra, wouldn't they? They
you
would.
should, but also I'd probably pick Dragons first up.
Not
Because I feel like
wrong.
that's a more sure thing for us.
He's not wrong.
No.
See, I think with Zebra, and might have been last year or year before, they played Leinster on the opening day of the season, and they led up to 75 minutes. So what Harley's saying is right, and they've done that for a couple of seasons. They start the season really, really well. There's a lot of enthusiasm in Zebra. There's a massive following in Zebra, but there's, even being the worst side in the URC, those boys get treated like gods around there. So they start the season on a big high. And yeah, I agree with what you were saying, Jamie. It only takes 2 or 3 wins for Zebra to really start shaking up the rest of the league. Yeah. And I don't think Zebra will be the only ones that do it this year. I think Dragons will do it. I'm not convinced that the Sharks, I thought the Sharks are just buying in people and going, right, go on the pitch and make stuff happen. Whereas everybody else is kind of trying to do something different. So, yeah, I think we're in for when we talk about roller coaster rides, you never know who is going to come out on top. It's going to be really close. And in a way, I hope that happens. I hope that those first couple of weeks is like everybody's like, what the hell happened there? How did they lose? So it does kind of bring in that interest into that first kind of couple of weeks, because yeah, I think the problem with it is I've said it for a couple of seasons, is that Zebra and Dragons are primed to go off. The fireworks waiting to go off, and they're just waiting for that bit of momentum, and both of them will start going up the league. A little bit of me kind of wants that to happen on Friday, Harley. I'm sorry, just for the interest in the league. But I think that's probably going to be a more interesting game than some of the other games that we've got this weekend. Not just ourselves, but Leinster, Glasgow, all of that kind of stuff. I think Cardiff and Zebra will tell us more about how competitive this league is going to be this year than any of the other games that go on. So
I would just like to point out that that's all true. And when Zebra came to Swansea.com Stadium last year, they were great fun to watch, and it was a great end-to-end game. But then I watched that Zebra Dragons game, or Dragon Zebra game last season, and it was honestly, and Jamie, I think you were there, it was one of the most turgid games I've ever watched in my life.
It always is between Zebra Dragons because they're 2 poor teams.
But they are the most hot and cold team.
Yeah.
They're like a Scotland in the mid 2000s to early 2010s. Turgid, boring to watch, and then all of a sudden will just produce some absolute sort of magic. But there is some talent down there. Former Osprey Ben Cambriani is recovered from his ACL injury. He's out in the wing there. There is some great under-20 talent, but I can't see it being anything other than a Cardiff win comfortably.
No. And it should be, in all fairness. Although I am interested to see if Zebra, how the loss of Richard Hodges as defence coach affects them, because I thought he did a decent job there, and he's now coaching the Italian national team, which is well deserved. So Zebra are going to be interested as a Dragon sport. I am going to be keeping a close eye on Zebra because it's going to be another tight battle to avoid finishing bottom, as it always is.
So let's do a couple of predictions then for Cardiff Zebra. Is that the way we're going to do it, Harley, with prediction table?
Yeah, we'll do it game by game, yeah.
Game by game for this one. Right. Okay. Who wants to give Harley the Cardiff v Zebra prediction first? Go on, James. You can go first.
Cardiff by 14.
Okay.
Tries.
Jamie?
I had written down Cardiff by 15.
Okay. I know you're going to hate me for this. I'm going to go Zebra by 2. Just to spice it up.
I can't do another season of this. I'm fucking retiring. I seriously can't be asked.
I said, just for completeness, as I said earlier, I haven't gone for Cardiff by 5. I think Cardiff will still get the bonus point, but I reckon it's going to be one of those, we score 5 and get all our kicks, they score 5 and miss a couple. I reckon it's going to be that sort of... It's going to be a really close thing.
I think it'll be tight, just because they always start the season really, really well. And yeah, you can, if you did, like, Sheedy has Sheedy played in any of the warm-up games?
Yeah, he did. He came off after with about half hour to go in the Bath game, and looked
right. Okay,
yeah. He did pretty good. He was kicking. He was doing what he did at Bristol quite well. He's crossfield kicks, and he was kicking to touch right. To be honest, Cardiff won that game because of the conditions, mostly through the ball. Yeah,
it's it's whether that team gels. So I think it's genuinely going to be a really close game on that. So the next game off the rank is actually Dragons and Ospreys, because it's a derby. We're going to skip over that one. We're going to give that one a bit more attention next. So we're going to look at Benetton v Scarlets away in Benetton.
Tough one.
Oh,
Tough one to open.
if Cardiff have got the easiest one to start with, this is just a nightmare. Benetton in Benetton is hard enough at the best of times, and then you're doing it first game. The good thing is the weather in the UK will be poor. The weather out there should be quite nice, so at least the boys will come back with a tan. You know, so you've got to look at a couple of positives there somewhere. In all honesty, at the minute, you can't really read anything into pre-season games. There's been some positives that have come out of there. There's been some bits that haven't really clicked, but then I think there's 8 players that you'd class as first teamers that are they've not even been in like match day 30 odds. We played Saracens. We played the last 15 minutes with 14 men because we ran out of subs. It's ridiculous the amount of players that we've got through, but there's still about 7 or 8 first teamers that we just haven't seen out on the park yet, that are either being held back or have got little niggles or this, that, and the other. So, yeah, I mean, it's lovely to actually start moving the ball, show some intent against Saracens on the weekend. I think at one point our oldest player in our back line was Johan Nicholas, about 25, 26, and that was our oldest player on the pitch, on the back line. So, yeah, we can't really read too much into it. As much as I'd love to, we can't. So Christ knows what's going to happen. Basically, there's been a lot of stuff that we brought in the right people, we've worked on the right things, and like you've said a couple of times already, it's just this is the season where Scarlets need to deliver. Those players that have come in have got to deliver, and that's what it comes down to now. It's you've had your fun, you've had a bit of a play around, we've had the upheaval, we've had the people throwing dummies out of prams and all that kind of stuff. Now it's time to deliver, and I think that edge kind of feeling like it's back there in the front five. It does feel like there's a little bit more of an old school front five, which we probably need in order to release some of the talented backs that we've got. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a good game, but it's a toss of a coin as to where we are with it. So that's my kind of bit on Scarlets Benetton. Anybody else want to chip in?
Oh, no, not me. I'd never want to comment on a Scarlets game. Absolutely, I do. I am of the opinion that you shouldn't read a lot into preseason, but
I knew there was a but there. I knew there'd be a but there.
Of course there is. But everything I've watched from the Scarlets, yes, you are moving the ball about. Yes, you are throwing the bun. You're making the passes, whatever. The defense has been not great. Like I urge any Scarlets fan who is a fan of defending their own line in the game of Rugby Football Union, do not watch the Twilights versus Saracens, because you will shed tears. Because it just and yes, you have played academy lads, and yes, you played the last 15 minutes with 3.5 men. Because yes, everyone got injured, and but we've all played academy lads, right? We've all played younger teams. It's not a mutual problem exclusive to Scarlets. I think Scarlets have the most to prove. I do. I genuinely think that you are coming out of a period of rebuilding, and you've lost near, I dare say, like 1,000 odd caps.
Something stupid like that. Yeah.
Something like that, and it's something stupid. A lot of experience. You've recruited, was it how many non-Welsh? It's a lot of non-Welsh.
It's
Your
a full
entire
camp, yeah. A full pack's worth of
full
non-Welsh.
packs worth of non-Welsh. You've signed 2 Welsh qualified players, I think, out of that in Henry Thomas and Blair Murray. When's it going to deliver now? When is and actually you've got the worst game, I think, to prove it first, because Benetton away is the worst one to do it.
Yeah, I agree. But they've got a lovely ground. It's when you watch the game, it's a lovely place to watch rugby.
Quins are out there this weekend, and the woman who I sit next to in the office had a lovely time because she travelled out there with them.
It's a nice ground. Genuinely, it's a nice ground to watch rugby on.
But Scarlets need to start putting money where their mouth is now. They need to start converting chances, but they need to sort out their defence. I won't comment on your front five because I don't actually know if you've got any front five players left, because it seems all your tight heads are injured.
I think a lot of them picked up niggles, and it was a precaution thing, with the exception being Harry O'Connor, where we haven't had anything.
The rumor is bad though. For those
but that's a rumor, and until he's been through the medical protocols and all that kind of stuff, we can't really comment on how bad it is. And
I do think Scarlets are gonna struggle out there on the weekend.
Da pish to you, struggle my ass. I told you we're going to start positive, James. We're going to let them prove me wrong.
Never once said I was going to start positive. I said before we started recording, I'm going to rip the shit into you.
Jamie,
actually, I think what you said was you don't have a positive word to say about anything. So, but
I've had an awful
James
day.
does bring a valid point. Like, was it 10 subs in the first 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah,
something's gone wrong there, because even in the preseason, if you're dealing with niggles, you should not be subbing that many players in that. And to lose, I think Hugh was saying last night, both tight heads in the first 5. I mean, that's freak stuff. Like, I mean,
and the scrum was faltering already before they went
also on. How are you not playing most of the game with 14 men as well? Actually, that must have been quite nice of Saracens to say, because if you go to uncontested scrums, you're supposed to lose a player anyway.
It's a friendly.
Unless it was because of a card. Yeah.
No, I would just like to point out that when Saracens were reduced to 10 men, they simply just subbed a player on because it's a friendly and an actual not IRFU. What are we? World Rugby rules don't apply. To competitive rules don't apply to friendlies. So
But I mean, I said it was nice of them to not to keep that. We had a similar one last season with a red card, and we argued, and the other team argued for the ref to let us bring a player back on at half time, because they were like, we want to practice game against 15 players, not 14, because our centre was stupid inside the clothesline line guy.
Anyway, Benetton and Scarlets.
Anyway, back to Benetton and Scarlets. Yeah. Because I'm not sure when the Italian summer tour finish, but I imagine they're probably going to be fairly close to a full complement. And even without their Italian internationals, they've got some very tasty players. As you know yourself, Lee, after listening to Kaelin do an excellent review of it on the URC Rugby Rewind. So nice little bit for your link cards there. I'm quite looking forward to seeing Benetton kick on, because they do have quite a sizable budget, despite even going, poor Italian. I mean, they're not poor. I mean, they are on a budget that's up there with like the Leinsters and the Munsters. So yeah, I think it's going to be a struggle for Scarlets, because Benetton don't really do losing at home. Anyway, I think the best you're probably going to be hoping for is a good spirited performance. I think we've got to see the end of like the 30, 40, 50 point losses for Scarlets, because otherwise it's, well, what have you learned this season? Especially if you do what you've done the last 2 seasons, which is seem to forget everything from the season before and start again.
This might sound weird, but I honestly think that if Scarlets had a season like Cardiff did last year, it would be a marked improvement of where they were.
We finished 1 place below them.
But yeah, but I mean in terms of staying in games.
Yeah, and I think that's where we improved at the end of last season, where we played 80 minutes where at the start of the season we were playing 30. And I think that we played, we wouldn't bother turning it up for the first 15, and then we'd have a bit of a run till half time, and then we'd forget to come out of the changing room. Then we'd have another 15, 20 minutes, and then we'd let them crack on. So that changed at the end of last season, and I think that's the encouraging bit. Jamie,
it was the same the year before, and you went back to where you were. If anything, you actually regressed further. It was almost like you went up and then down even deeper. So
yeah,
but you've got to stay up.
This is my optimistic bit coming in. See, Harley, that we've learned. Yeah, we've learned from our mistakes, and everything's going to be bright. Everything's going to be bright and rosy, and then we'll kick off at week 1, and then we'll see where we are then. But right now, everything is bright and rosy. Jamie, your thoughts on Benetton and Scarlets?
Yeah, just quickly, I think it's a really tough opening game for the Scarlets. 10 years ago, you was expected to go to Treviso and win, but things have changed. Benetton are a very good side now. They've got a good budget. They're packed full of internationals. It's a very tough place for Scarlets to go, or for any of our Welsh regions. I do agree with what James is saying. I did see some clips on X, the Saracens Scarlets game. I don't want to read too much into pre-season, as you know, but the defence looked a little bit ropey for some of them tries. And obviously, how many times did you say you went over the line but didn't score? There's quite a few.
Yeah, 7 times we went over the line and we had 3 tries.
Yeah, I mean, that's concerning, isn't it? Like, that's just a lack of, not being clinical enough, really. And then there's the front 5. We know Scarlets have had issues with the front 5. Are they going to be improved? Are they going to get parity up front with Benetton? So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, it's a very tough opening game for the Scarlets, to be fair. And I don't particularly fancy their chances, if I'm being brutally honest. So, yeah.
It's not like
it's going to be tough.
Not like you to be brutally honest, James.
Well, Well, do you want me to lie to you and say the Scarlets are going to go out with a bonus point win? I know that's what you like to.
There you go, man.
I just don't believe it'll happen. It is a very tough game. It is now. It is a tough place to go for all our teams. Yeah. Benetton, Treviso, they've made it a fortress, haven't they? It's a bloody tough place to go. Yeah.
I think the good thing with this is it'll tell us really quickly, where we are in the table. Do you know what I mean? Like we said, go into Benetton in a way is a good first game, because you find out straight away where you are. Beating Zebra at home, Harley, isn't gonna give you that much of an insight as to, are you able to cope with Leinster? Are you a top 8 side? If we go out to Benetton and
if you wanted me to go on to my season predictions for Cardiff, I can tell you about that. How none of Cardiff won't have an idea of where they're finishing the table till after the Six Nations, because I think our running is very lopsided again.
Lee, I can confirm you are currently sat in 12th in the URC, one above the Sharks, just below the Ospreys.
Where are they going to be?
It's shit on Zebra, because no matter what Zebra do, even at the start of the year, Zebra are at the bottom of the table. So it is, in the sense that it's a good first game. It's a good test. It'll tell us a lot about where we are. It's not too hard. We aren't playing Leinster or Stormers away like we did last year, which was just a ridiculous opening fixture. But then you're not playing Zebra and effectively, coming away with that. And if you don't come away from Zebra, a home game against Zebra, without bonus point win, then that's a question. If you go to Benetton and you compete well, and people can see that, actually there's been an improvement here. You're playing a competitive side. You're playing it away. There's positives to be had. So
if you did win, just say if Scarlets did win, that would be a hell of a confidence booster, wouldn't it, for the new season? That would really, it would send a message. I think that would, that's a statement of intent, going out there and winning, because that's a very tough place to go, as we said. So it could have the opposite. Right? If Scarlets do pull off a win, that could really set you up for the rest of the season.
Yeah. And that is, like I've said a couple of times, that is the way this season is going to go. It's going to be, all over the shop. There'll be, Dragons Leinster, where you're 75 minutes in and you're 5 points up, and you're thinking, what the hell's going on here?
That ain't going to happen, Lee.
Optimism, James. Optimism. Right.
I want
Let's
them to be overconfident, ready for round 2.
yeah. Let's get some score predictions then, gents, for Scarlets Benetton. So I'm going to get mine out the way first on this.
Scarlets by 1.
No, I'm going to go Scarlets by 5 on that, just to mix it up. Start the season feeling optimistic. We're going Scarlets by 5 just to mix stuff up there. Jamie, your thoughts on Scarlets Benetton, your prediction?
I have gone for Benetton by 12.
Okay, Harley.
I thought it was mean going Benetton by 6, but but I
Okay,
thought
so-
I'd let Scarlets have a bonus point.
I will go for Benetton by. I'll give Benetton by 9.
Benetton by 9. See. So if Scarlets do come away with a win against Benetton, I'm doing well in the prediction league already, boys. You can give up on the prediction league after week 1 because I'm flying.
And yeah,
It would be my worst nightmare next week now if Ospreys win and Scarlets win, because you're going to be smug as fuck, and then I'll have James then chipping in. I might not be available next week depending how results go.
Jamie's going to be sitting there. These aren't working, boys. These aren't working.
I feel like I should say now, regardless of results, I'm not here next week. That's not why I'm not here.
Yeah, Harley's setting himself up for a zebra hammering already. Right, let's talk Welsh game of the week. Then we start with a derby, Dragons Ospreys, 3:00 Saturday afternoon. No excuses. It's going to be full. Am I right on that, James?
I don't think there'll be a sellout. I think they'll probably get a crowd around 6,000 odd, maybe 7,000, but I don't think you're going to see a sellout, personally.
the Ospreys Supporters Club aren't even running a bus. I would just like to point out.
Oh, they're not? Why is that?
Just wasn't. I think it's too easy a thing to get to. There just wasn't enough interest as far as I'm concerned. It's easier to go up to Rodney Parade than I think it is to come down. And yeah, I don't know. There's lots of things going around, but I just think rugby's not on the forefront of everyone's minds right now. If you look at season ticket sales across Britain and Ireland, they are all down. Like across everyone is down. Whether you're hitting targets, yes, but everyone is down. So rugby really isn't on the forefront of everyone's minds at the minute. So I didn't expect it to be a sellout, to be honest.
But see, that's kind of the point of putting a derby game on the first game of the season, isn't it? We did it a couple of years ago with Scarlets Ospreys, where we drew.
Yeah, we drew 22.
Yeah, and that should have been a sellout. It wasn't a sellout, but it should have been a sellout. And this one should be a sellout, but
I don't not agree with you. It absolutely should be a sellout, but it's not. Let's talk about the game.
The Bisley stand is selling well. There are still some seats available. Now, bear in mind, we've closed the North Terrace now for Dragons and Newport County games, so that's not going to be in use. Neither is the South stand. So it is literally just going to be 2 stands open: the Riverside stand, which used to be the old Hazel Terrace, and the Bisley stand.
Okay. So what are we expecting from the game then, Jamie? Give us a rundown of the Dragons for this weekend.
So this derby is my favourite derby because I think it's got so many brilliant memories. And I don't know what it is about Ospreys, but they just don't like coming to Rodney Parade. And this isn't a recent thing either. I can remember back in the Galactico days when you had Mike Phillips and Dan Bigger, the crowd really getting under their skin. They just don't like it down here for the Ospreys for whatever reason. And every time the team sheets come out, we look at the team sheets. On Ospreys, we'll always have the stronger looking squad. And it'll happen this week. We'll all look at the Ospreys squad and we'll go, oh, it's a really good squad. Yeah, they got all their internationals. You look at the Dragons, you think, yeah, that's not a bad squad. But it'll always be the Ospreys having the strongest squad. And yet every time they come down here, we always give them a run for their money. And we've had some brilliant victories over them when we shouldn't have, because on paper it's a mismatch. But somehow, for some reason, in this game against the Ospreys, where we don't raise our game for the other Welsh regions, against the Ospreys in Newport, we always seem to. And there's been some brilliant games, wonderful moments. You'll remember Jared Rosser sprinting for the line. Remember Bradley Roberts' dummy. We've scored some wonderful tries, some really good moments. And I'm expecting another entertaining game because they usually are. They're not dull games. Like, I think Cardiff Dragons can be quite scrappy. Scarlet's Cardiff as well can be turgid on times, can't it? But this has always been an entertaining open game, particularly in Newport. So I'm looking forward to it. It's I'm hopeful. We've got a good record against the Ospreys in Newport. I want it to stay that way. I hope it's a good crowd there. 3 p.m. kickoff. I know it clashes with the community game. I've already seen a few supporters moaning about that. That's not the Dragons' fault. They don't set the fixtures. That's the URC. So I'm looking forward to it. We do have a lot of niggles in the squad, though. So I don't know at this moment who's available and who's not. I don't know if we're going to see the likes of Elliot D, Dimitri Arhip, Harry Wilson, Tame Basham. I don't know if we see these guys, because the problem is when we've played our preseason friendlies, we haven't played a team anywhere near what I'd expect us to see in the URC. We've played a lot of academy kids. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, let's hope it's a good game of rugby. I think it's a brilliant opening fixture, though, for the Dragons. So a Welsh derby, kicking the season off like that. I think it generates a bit of buzz, a bit of excitement, doesn't it? So I'm looking forward to it.
So James, he's right, isn't he? Your boys just don't like taking
he's
the
absolutely
trip.
right. There's two places that I would never want to visit first game of the season is Galway and Rodney Parade, and we've done it Galway last season and Rodney Parade this season. Like it is, we don't like going there. And that's not to say we haven't won in recent years. We've won a couple of games in recent years, but we've not been consistent there. We were awful last November. Because the only wins I can remember, we did one a couple of years ago, and then the last one I think before that was in the Rainbow Cup.
It was COVID era, wasn't it? I think that was the last time.
we won it. It was because it was Max Nagy's debut, and he scored a lovely try. But yeah, no, it's a place we don't like going in, and I think any Ospreys fan who's going there confident of a win this weekend is a fool. I do think that we have the added benefit of we only play 2 preseason games. So the squad's maybe in a slightly healthier place than Dragons is. Whether that means we might be a bit undercooked, who knows? In terms of long-term injuries, still no Adam Beard, Rhys Davis, James Fender. I haven't heard much about Kieran Hardy being involved much. There's apparently a nickel there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we are. We had a joint training session against Cardiff today. I think it's a really interesting litmus test to see where we are in the Booth transition period era. Or
Is it starting to become that already, James? Is it starting to become more about the coach this last season?
It doesn't help, but then again, you're a professional rugby player. You're taught to block out noise, and I think they're all consummate professionals going out to do a job. I don't think it'll be in effect. I think what we will see is just more of the same. I don't think I was listening to Scrum 5 today, and as Cuthbert was saying, maybe Booth will take a step back at some points in the period and let Boise take over for a bit. From what I understand, Tipperick has been leading a lot of defence sessions with Mark Jones anyway. I don't think it'll have an effect. I think it's outside noise. The pre-game build-up on Saturday won't be, will the Dragons be able to cope at scrum time, or will the Ospreys be able to stop Dragons driving more? It will be Philo Tiatia and Di Flanagan's relationship, and it will be Toby Booth leaving. They'll be the 2 main talking points. So, I don't think it's a case of internally, and having spoken to some people within the club, it's very much, yes, it's happening, but it's still business as usual. They've got a URC season to go out and play. As back to the game, I think we'll be expecting our Welsh internationals back. in Gareth Thomas, Owen Watkin, and Dewi Lake. But I'd expect to see them come off the bench. Steph Thomas has apparently been going very well in training, from what I understand. Benefiting at scrum time, but also great at the loose. But yeah, I think I'm happy with where the squad's at. It's just, can we get this Rodney Parade monkey off our back? Like, I have nothing to say. Like, I think Dragons have got, on paper, a very good squad. I think they've recruited very well, and I think that they've recruited very well on the coaching side of it. I like the Ryan Chambers appointment. I like the Filotiete appointment. It's just, are Dragons going to be able to get all of them players onto the field at once? And are they going to be all singing off the same hymn sheet? I thought they played okay in patches against Bath. They didn't create anything, but they defended relatively well. They were a lot more physical than I've seen them. So yeah, I'm expecting a good game. I'm expecting a dogged one. I don't think it'll be free flowing, because I don't think, I know Ospreys aren't set up to be free flowing. But then I think this new Dragons team, Dragons 5.0, aren't set up to be free flowing either. I think they're set up to hit gain line.
So, Harley, speaking as a neutral,
my ass.
More neutral than when you try and be neutral, mate.
Speaking as a close to neutral as we can possibly be, what are you hoping to see in this game on Saturday?
For me, I think it's two different things which almost counteract each other, which is a bit frustrating. One, I want to see Ospreys take that extra step. Like, we know they've got the pack, we know they've got the physicality, we know they can scrum and maul the other three sides off the park. What I want to see is if they can. I know they're not necessarily a free flowing team, but it'd be nice to see them being a bit more creative in how they attack, and just to try a few things that won't necessarily work by being a flat track bully. For the Dragons, I just like to see, because I didn't watch that game against Bath, but it sounds promising if they are showing more physicality. I would like to see that Gwent steel, that gnarliness coming back, and I'd like just to see that market improvement from where things. I mean, obviously they beat Ospreys at home last year, so you'd expect them, you kind of want them to win again at this, but it'd just be nice to see that clear step where there's almost a mentality. You almost can tell the mentality. But the thing is, I don't think we'll necessarily see that in a game like this unless Ospreys manage to score 2 or 3 quick tries. And, it's whether or not their heads drop. Because one of the issues I've seen with the Dragons over previous seasons is, if they can stay in the game, they're in, and then they might have the narrow loss. But if they go down quickly, then you sort of see a bit like that absolute bizarre game, Boxing Day. They just sort of switched off, and it took half time to have like a reset and pull themselves together to pull anything out. And there was no one on the field to sort of drag them up and say, no, we're going to just keep going hard. They're the main things I want to say. One thing I wanted to ask Jamie, obviously you mentioned that people complain about it being a 3 o'clock kickoff and messing with the community game. Do you also get people who moan when there isn't a 3 o'clock kickoff? Because that's something I found with Cardiff is you get loads of people moaning that it interferes with community day. Then they moan about it being on a Friday because they want it to be at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. And they'll moan if it's an evening game.
You'll never please everyone on kickoff time. So there are some supporters that really like a Friday night, the Rodney Parade. Now, for me personally, with my circumstances, Friday night is a bit of a bugger to get to. I like a Saturday 3 p.m. But then you get people saying, well, clash of the community game. I think, well, if you're a season ticket holder, we got a Welsh derby here. What takes priority? If the community game takes priority for you, fine. But I think this should be the main event in town, in the region. This game should be the place to be. A lot of our supporters do not like Sunday games. They're very against that. And that was brought up in the Q&A meeting with Rhys Blumberg recently. like Rhys Blumberg said, if it was up to us, we'd have Friday night, Saturdays, but we don't make the fixtures. It's the URC. TV calls the shots. You'll never get... sorry?
Do we have many Sunday league fixtures this season? Because they
Dragons have
the
a
URC
few.
were moving away from them.
Yeah, no, Dragons have got a few this year. We got more Sundays than Fridays, and the Sunday games are really unpopular with supporters. But we tend to get a decent crowd. We tend to get around 4,000 odd, So I think that's decent for a Sunday, all things considered. But yeah, you'll never with kickoff times with things like this, you'll never please everyone because everyone's different. Everyone has their own preferences. I think it's a good kickoff time personally, though. I'm happy with it.
But everyone likes a moan as well, don't they? Everyone likes to
yeah.
stick. If there's an
Welsh rugby,
opportunity
isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's some of it you listen to, and then there's some of it that is welcome to sit on other podcasts. So yeah. See, for me, what I'm looking forward to in this game, I want to see Dragons cut loose, and I think that will force the Ospreys to do the same. I think the Ospreys have got a really exciting backline, genuinely do, but they don't want to. They're almost too scared to use it because they know if they kick it to the corner, there's a 50-50 chance they might steal a line out, and then they can work from there. I want to see the Ospreys cut loose, but more than that, I want to see Dragons be competitive. I want to see Dragons with their tails up. I want to see Dragons, bringing Rio Dyer into midfield and just going right, just go run at fullbacks through the midfield. I want to see them try different things. I think, given the record that the Dragons have had, they're almost like too scared now to go and do stuff. I think you've got a lot of boys coming through the academy that have played some very, very attacking rugby through the academy. Yeah, I watched the academy for the last 3 or 4 years, and the amount of tries that Dragons scored from their own 22 was unreal. And they weren't scared. They were super confident. They were like, we got a 3-on-2, let's go.
What I would say though, I watched that Bath game on Friday night, and we competed well up front. Scrum went okay, actually. Leon Brown was quite solid and stable. He played 40 minutes. It was actually Martinez on the loose who was giving away penalties, but on the whole, our scrum was pretty decent. Our defence was a lot more dogged than I've seen in years, particularly on more defence. That's something the field Tia mentioned after the game. The biggest concern I've got for the Dragons, I mean, everyone talks about front five, and yes, we've always had that problem. We're no different to, Cardiff and Scarlets, I guess, in our league. We all want stronger front fives. I'm more concerned about the attack than our front five because, like I said, I watched that Bath game, and we created very little. We were barely entering Bath's 22, and when we did, we'd make a mistake like spill the ball or knock on or get turned over. I got great concerns about our attack because we all know, as I mentioned to start before, Dragons had the worst attack statistically in the URC. And I'm not entirely convinced under the attack coach we got now that's going to turn around. Because like I said, against Bath, and I don't want to read too much in the preseason, as you know, but I was really concerned about the lack of cutting edge when we went forward. Because Gavin has talked about this on our Dragons Lair pod. He's talked about us having a lack of identity. We mentioned that when you watch Ospreys, you know what they're about. They rely on their forward pack. With Cardiff, you could see what Sherratt's trying to do. They're playing expansive rugby. You can see what they're trying to do. With Dragons, when you watch us sometimes, I don't know what we're trying to do. I do think we lack identity. And I think that Matt O'Brien and Di Flanagan has really got to try and get these backs firing because that is the one area, believe it or not, that I'm concerned about the most, not the front five. And also in this fixture last year, let's not forget, and James will know this, Rodri Jones, he took Tom Bofa, one of the best tight ends.
Nicky Smith.
Was it Nicky Smith?
He played on the tight last year.
I thought he was.
Played
no, I'm sure he played Tom Bofa. I'll double check.
But it was Nicky Smith who gave away the penalties from an Ospreys point of view.
He was outstanding, and he took that Osprey scrum to the cleaners. So, I'm hoping he has another game like that. But with the Ospreys, we know what to expect from them. They are going to try and scrum and drive the maul and all the rest of it. But I saw enough in Bath to be positive because I did think that driving more defense was actually pretty good. I know scramble defense, but it's the attack that's worrying me at the moment.
Just to finish on this very quickly, I think this notion that Ospreys need to cut loose is a really weird one because I agree that maybe the back players need to be a bit more expansive, but as someone who's watched every Ospreys game for the past 4 or 5 years, the attack has evolved and it's not a fix overnight. you can't. And also, what's your benchmark for playing or cutting loose? Is it you want to play like Cardiff? Is it you want to play like Harlequins? Or is it you just want a coordinated attack that utilizes what you have, which for us is a smaller back three that has one-on-one beating capabilities and pace, which we have started doing. It's just you don't see it enough because you see the headlines of, well, Osprey's got 4 or 5 scrum penalties, they kicked to the corner and scored more tries, because of course they're going to do that, because you do what's best to win. Gareth Rees said this on the Scrum 5 podcast today. Rugby is not about being entertained. Rugby is about winning. And as Harley has said multiple times, and I'm pretty sure he's the only Cardiff fan who admits to this, he'd rather win games with driving mauls than lose games checking the ball about, picking up loose balls. And I will continue happily to do that. But I would like to see a steady progression of just utilising the backs more. And I think Dan Edwards provides that for us.
But hang on, isn't Toby Booth the one that says we're in the entertainment business?
Precisely. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he said that, didn't he?
No, I agree. But winning breeds entertainment. I'm talking about entertainment in the context of you have to play end to end, run it from your own line, make stupid decisions in celebration of entertaining rugby. This is a stance I've taken for ages. You can go back in the pods last year. I've said there's no point playing entertaining rugby for the sake of playing entertaining rugby.
Mm.
You've got to play effective rugby. I was more entertained the fact that we won, was it 14 out of 22 games last year or whatever it was, rather than the fact that we threw the ball around.
Yeah.
That's more entertaining to me.
Let's wrap this one up with some predictions. So, Jamie, your score prediction for Dragons Ospreys on Saturday?
I have gone for Dragons by 5 points.
Cool, excellent. James, your Ospreys Dragons prediction?
Ospreys by 7.
Okay, Harley?
I've gone for Dragons by 3.
Yeah, cool.
And I'm going to be very specific. I think it's going to be a last-minute penalty.
I've gone for Dragons by 2. Yeah, so I'm going to go for Dragons by 2. And yeah, that will be one of the games of the round, which I'm looking forward to. Jen, looking forward to.
Should be a good game.
Yeah. So before we move on to other things and Harley talks us through prediction leagues and this, that, and the other, if you are liking what you are seeing, please have a little fiddle on the screen and like the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, or share us on socials and all of that kind of stuff. Does make a massive difference to, if nothing else, it makes a difference to the ego going into the week, because last year trying to do Welsh rugby and then it was hard going, and the thing that kept us going was people going, actually we quite like what you're saying. So if you are liking what we're saying, do subscribe and like and share us on socials. There's been some really nice comments over summer about having us back, and some of the stuff that you've done in particular, Jamie, has been fantastic. So yes, keep doing that. So, Harley, while I get the next bit ready, talk us through Prediction League this year, because we have got like a proper one, and then like Fantasy League and all that kind of stuff.
Like I said, I haven't set up anything for a Fantasy League, but we've got a Prediction League running with the URC. I believe when we put out the socials, we'll put the link for everyone to do that. So we're going to see you'll hear about all our terrible predictions. We want to hear yours and see if any of you are better than us. What I would say is when you join the league, if you could just put a little identifier to say whether you're Scarlets, Ospreys, Dragons, Cardiff, whatever, and we're going to pick the best from each. We'll have an overall winner and then the best from each one, and we'll send you a prize. I'll dip into my pocket and buy some of the merch that we've got coming up.
Who said anything about a prize?
I said it now. I said I'll dip into my. Don't worry,
man.
you don't have to pay for it, mate.
That's a pencil at best, man. We've said the last 2 years, we said that if anyone beats us on predictions and stuff, and we did it over like the Six Nations, come on the pod and we'll have you on the pod. Nobody replies to those emails. Not a single person.
That says more about you than it does us.
I don't know what you're talking about. I won it that first year the rap was around, and now I'm a regular presenter.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, fair play. Anyway, so we'll put the prediction league link on the socials, and you can join us from there. I think there's about normally when we do this, we fill up the 100 spots fairly quickly. So yeah, get yourselves in because that'll be quite cool. And for this weekend, Harley, are we going to do like a fantasy 15? Are we going to do the on socials? Are we going to do your best stuff? Is it first one, debutants and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I'm going to scroll through the team sheets, and we're going to do a sort of debutants 15. So players who are, even not necessarily having a debut in the URC, but debut for their club. So, the likes of, we'll go through Ed Byrne, Steve Cummings, Dan Cassandra. I'm not counting Dan Cassandra. He's already played for the Ospreys in the URC.
And he's also not here till October.
God, just excuse with the Ospreys. Can't even sign a player right.
So yeah, help us out with that one on socials. Debutant 15 for the first week of the URC. So those of you who are lucky enough to be watching on YouTube will see a very pretty screen in front of you entitled James, and this is James's predictions for the where our Welsh sides are going to finish at the end of the year. So, James, talk us through where the Ospreys, where you're predicting Ospreys are going to finish in the URC. Well, switching your mic on helps, mate.
I can't actually remember, so can you please unravel?
Okay, there you go.
So I have predicted the Ospreys will finish 6th. I think there is scope that we can improve on last year. So for those who aren't aware, we finished 8th with 50 points last year. And I do think that we left points out there in the league that can easily see us climb up. So I've gone for that. For Cardiff, I've gone for 10th. I do think that there'll be a marked improvement from Cardiff. I just don't think that this is the season that they will kick on. For Dragons, I've gone for 13th. Maybe slightly optimistic in Jamie's eyes, but I do think, again, scope for them to kick on. They certainly have the talent now and the coaching to do it. And then for the other ones, I've gone for 12th. I do think, again, what did they finish last season? 14th.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think an improvement, but I don't think that this is the year that they will kick on. In terms of the Challenge Cup, I've gone for. I think this is again very optimistic. I don't necessarily believe what I'm writing, but I think we'll get to the final. I'd like to think we'll get to the final because it means I get to go to Cardiff. For Cardiff, I have gone for semi-final. I think that they definitely have the vibe of a cup team, but when you get into the dog days of the Challenge Cup, are they going to be able to maintain the same 15 that got them there while balancing the league? For Dragons, I think I went for semi-final. I just think they'll surprise people. They have big cup team vibes written all over them. I think their squad can certainly build for that. And then finally, I've gone for quarterfinal for the Scarlets because I couldn't write semi-final for all three of them.
No, there have been all Welsh semi-finals, which would be
exactly.
Which, and one would have to be a finalist.
Yeah, so exactly. So I think Scarlets will lose to like Poe in the quarterfinal.
Okay. So Harley, let's have yours then, mate. What have you got for Cardiff?
So I've started with 9th. I actually remember mine. Yes, I started with Cardiff at 9th. So I think we're going to see a few more improvements. I think some of those close games are going to turn into losses, but not necessarily enough to break in that top 8. I do think what I'm predicting is we're going to have a very good start season. I said we've got a very easy half the draw. I mean, we've got 4 of our 6 start. I mean, we do 5 of our derbies by New Year's Day, and then it's Judgment Day. Like those are games we have to be targeting, home and away. So yeah, I think we'll probably just miss out on the playoffs, but I think we'll start off really high, and then we're just going to do a Benetton and just go dip, all the way down. Scarlets, I've predicted 13th. I think we're going to see. I think the games, some of the game, I think they're going to lose against Cardiff, home and away. But I think the gap from the games where they were really fucking catastrophically toxically bad, they're not going to be so bad. So I think they're gonna improve, but I think the rest of the league's going to improve with them. Ospreys, I think, are going to go up to 6th, which makes me sick that I agree with James. But I think they've probably got and with the problem with the URC is 5th to like 12th is going to be so interchangeable. I think no one's going to get those positions for certainly not this early. Dragons, I think, are going to 14th, so I think they're going to go up a bit. I think they are going to improve. I think going to be expense of the Sharks because I think they're, if anything, accentuating their biggest problem. Challenge Cup wise, we love this competition. We must be one of the few clubs who do genuinely love it. So I think we're going to go semi-final again. I'm not sure we necessarily have the squad to get those last two stages. Could surprise us. Scarlets, I think, are going to bomb out in the quarterfinals. They're somehow going to win their game against Black Lion this time and then lose to, I don't know, the Cheetahs or something. I think Ospreys are going to actually win the Challenge Cup this season in full-on Boothie find a way, loving. And Dragons, again, I think are going to be a quarterfinal team who are going to lose to Cardiff in the quarterfinal. That is my prediction.
Okie dokie. Jamie, let me just move the screen back down, mate. Jamie, what's your predictions on the Dragons?
Right, I have flip-flopped more times than Keir Starmer when trying to decide where the Dragons are going to finish. I've flitted between 14th, 15th. I had it down to 13th at one point, and I thought, no, don't be silly. I've settled on 14th because I do think we will be better. But the problem is when you start putting Dragons higher up the table, you got to think, okay, who's going to finish below them then? So Zebra, probably, if we're being honest. Can I see the Scarlets finishing below us? Well, we should have overtaken the Scarlets last year. We had our opportunity, we didn't. So probably. Cardiff, no, I don't think so. Can you see teams like Lions, Edinburgh, Connacht finishing below Dragons? I just can't. And I think that's the problem I have. And because this URC is such a strong competition, Dragons could make big improvement, but they could still end up in 15th. That's how difficult this league is. That's how competitive it is. And I have got concerns about tight head. We got some injuries there. Lloyd Fairbrother retiring is a blow. As a player and a person, that's a big blow for the club. I've got concerns about the attacking game, lack of depth as well in key areas. We had an awful luck with injuries last season. I mentioned before, every match week, I was looking at the injury list and we had at least 15 players out every week. And that is my concern with the Dragons. I do think, despite what some people say, that we have got a good team and we have got some really good players, some very talented youngsters, but it's getting them all together on the field at the same time. And when we have injuries, you start scratching the surface. I think Dragons are very vulnerable because we can't replace quality with quality. So I'm going to be optimistic. I'm trying to strike that balance between trying to be optimistic and realistic, but I've settled on 14th. And then for the Challenge Cup, what did I go for? I went for the last 16.
We're doing the league first, and then we'll do the cup.
Oh, sorry, apologise. Okay, right. So Scarlets I put down in 13th. I do think they will be better. They did have an issue with the front five. I know Hugh disagrees, but they did. That's why they've centered their recruitment around it. That's why Dwayne Peel talked about bolstering the front five. They've done that. I think they will be more competitive. I don't see them getting anywhere near the top 8, though. But I've gone down for 13th. Ospreys, I got down in 9th, which I know is a little bit controversial. I've got them just missing out on the top 8, but I can't tell you why. I just got this feeling. I got this feeling that they are just, it's going to be very tight, but I just got this feeling that they're going to miss out because I can see like a Sharks or an Edinburgh or Lions jumping just ahead of them.
Edinburgh and Connacht are the two that are going to be the deciding factor in this, I think.
Yeah, I can see one of those teams I've just mentioned leapfrogging the Ospreys, but it's going to be very tight. They will be there or thereabouts. Make no mistake about that. Cardiff, I got down in 12th. I do think they'll be better. I like a lot of their recruitment. I think they've recruited shrewdly. I still think they're a bit light in certain areas, like Lock, for example. I'm still not totally convinced by their front five against bigger and better packs. I think that'll be their downfall. But I've gone down as 12th. And then in Europe, then for the Dragons, I got us down as the last 16. We have got 2 French teams at home. We're away to Newcastle, and I can't remember who else we're playing. But I do think we can.
Montpellier.
It is Montpellier, thank you. Yeah. So
Lions away.
it is. Yeah.
The non-French side.
Are you going to Lions away?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's right. Yeah, Harley's right. So it's Montpellier and Po at home, Newcastle away, and we got to go to Johannesburg, which is not ideal, to be honest, in Europe. So I think we will get out of it, but I can see us making the last 16 having to travel. And if Dragons have to travel, we all know the away form is just utterly abysmal. So I could see them going out in the last 16. Scarlets, I've got down as a quarter-final. I can't wait for that Black Lion game. I really can't wait for that Black Lion game. That's all I can think about now. Scarlets, I think they'll get to the quarterfinals. I think they've got a good opportunity to progress in this competition. Ospreys, provided they can finally win a European quarterfinal, I've got them down in the semis. Because I think them and Cardiff have probably got the best chance out of the Welsh teams of going really far in this competition. And then for Cardiff as well, I got them as semi-finals. Cardiff, as we know, have got pedigree in this competition. They've won it twice. They're a very good cup team. I actually think out of all the Welsh teams, if I had to pick a Welsh winner who could win, I'd probably lean towards Cardiff. But yeah, those are my predictions. So I'm really interested to see how this goes down on social media, because last time I chose 14th, I had people saying to me, "Oh, I thought you would have put the Dragons higher. They were on my back that I didn't have the Dragons high enough." I got a feeling that I won't get the same reaction this time around. I think 14th is fair and optimistic. So yeah, those are my predictions.
Okie dokie. So before people start giving me all the shit that they gave you last year,
Oh, I can't wait for that. Some of your predictions.
Can I just
say something to you? I sent your predictions to Gavin, my co-host on Dragon Slayer, and his words, not mine. He said, "Did you inject yourself with crack when you made these predictions?" That's what he asked me.
So let me brain this. Yeah. So I'll do all 4 at the same time. Yeah. So 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. I think in Wales, right? So we have this habit, yeah, of putting ourselves down constantly. And we like nothing more than moaning at ourselves and saying we're shit and putting ourselves down. I think that some of our teams are in a really strong position, and we don't give them the credit that they deserve.
But we're not in strong positions. We're shit.
I think
you've got to be realistic, mate. There's all very well being positive, but come on, be realistic.
When you look
Cardiff 6, come on.
When you look at when you look at what you've got in those sides, yeah, the potential is there.
They've got Geordie Barrett. I've got Luke Morgan.
when you look at the potential of what we've got, yeah. We need to stop putting ourselves down, and we need to start backing our sides, yeah, genuinely, because we have got some really good players, yeah. I think the issue is always going to be about quality and depth, yeah. But if we get enough of our players on the park often enough, things will build. And I think the momentum, we underestimate how important the head side of the game, the mental side of the game is. Once you start getting on a run, yeah, you can run through brick walls that before you wouldn't have even thought about jumping over, yeah. And that's where I think we'll be this year. So I've put between 6th and 9th, but I genuinely think we can swap all 4 of us in between there, and that's where we're going to be. We're going to be that mid-table, maybe 7th to 10th or whatever, yeah. But we're going to be at that place, and we're going to get to the end of the season and go, actually, as a country, we've done all right. You know, we've been through the shit. We're on the upward trend again, and there's been some good games. This isn't an easy league. This is competitive every week now, yeah. And I think sides are going to underestimate Welsh sides. You know, we've seen that in the press and on socials and all of that. People are underestimating us already. and we're going to start causing bloody noses at the start of the season, and people are going to take a couple of weeks before they start taking Welsh side seriously again. And I think that's only to our benefit. I think the more of those games we play, the better. People will underestimate us. They won't put their strongest sides out against us, and we'll go and deliver bloody noses. It's about being optimistic. There's no point sitting there and going, oh, let's drag ourselves down. Let's get behind the boys. Let's get ourselves down to the parks. Let's get ourselves on the terraces. Let's get ourselves in the stand, and let's give our teams something to go for. Because when you're on that pitch and you've got that crowd behind you, it does give you that extra oomph. It does give you that extra bit of encouragement to go forward.
Lee, I want you to go through each team and explain your reasonings, particularly for Cardiff and Dragons, because Cardiff in 6 is wild, quite frankly. And for Dragons,
you're saying
15th
Cardiff
mind.
in 6 is less believable than Scarlets at 7th?
Yeah, no, Scarlets at 7th.
Yeah,
You lost to a pub.
I may have fair point, but all right, just explain these.
Like I've just said, yeah, it'll be a group of 4. All 4 of us will be mid-table, and it may be Ospreys in 6th and Scarlets in 9th or whatever. Yeah, but as a group of teams, we will be mid-table. Yeah, Dragons are the potential for the Dragons to go and really fuck people up, James, is in there.
But who's finishing above us? I've made this point. I'm not trying to do my team down. I'm trying to be realistic about it, right? Yeah. We finished 15 3 seasons in a row. So to go from that to 9th, first of all, that would be a tremendous season for the Dragons, actually.
Massive.
But who is finishing below us then?
What you're saying is Connacht, Lions, Edinburgh, Sharks.
I just can't see
Ulster.
it.
I can't. Look, Edinburgh have got issues in the coaching side. You've got Connacht have got all sorts of stuff going on off the pitch, and it doesn't take much to start getting that into people's heads. Sharks, if Sharks don't turn around if Sharks don't get 4 wins out of 4 at the start of the season, and in their first 4 games, then people start shouting for the coach's head. And this is the sort of stuff that, we've been through the last couple of seasons. We've been through that mill where everybody's having a go. And I just think it's time, we start bigging them up. It's about time we say, do you know what? The expectation now is higher. The expectation for our sides now is that actually, I expect you to go out and give absolutely everything every game. And I expect to come away with victories, because that's the level we set our expectations at now. And it's none of those boys that are on a park on a Saturday are trying to have a bad game, So.
Well, we're not saying that, are we?
No,
some of these predictions are wild, mate. They're absolutely wild. I appreciate you want to build the teams up, but come on. Let's be realistic, man.
I've been up since 5. Can we get on with the last one?
Can we? Yeah.
I would very much like to go to bed.
Right. So I've got Scarlets in the quarterfinal. I've got Cardiff making a final. I think they are a good cup side. I've got Dragons quarterfinal, and I've got Ospreys making the semi-final again. What I genuinely think will happen though is if we do start building that run in the league, we will all turn around and go, do you know what, Europe can swing for it. I don't care. We'll put. I would love to
finish 9th. If Dragons finish 9th, no one will be happier than me, because that would be a tremendous season for us.
The logo tattooed on your head.
So those are my predictions for the seasons, gents, which brings us neatly to the end of tonight's show. There's a whole load of stuff that we got going on socials and prediction leagues and this, that, and the other. It all starts Friday, week 1, Friday. Best league, James. Enjoy it, mate. Love it. So yeah, very best to all 4 sides playing this weekend. Enjoy it if you're going to go and watch the game. And tell us, share your photos with us on socials, and tell us what kind of a game you're having and why you love your side, because that's the sort of thing that we need to do on socials now. So with nothing else to say, I shall bid you adieu. We shall come back again. We shall do this again next week, a little bit quicker with less to talk about. And on that note, gents, have a good one. Enjoy your rugby.
Have a good one.
Take care. Ta-ra.